Hello, and welcome to What's the Tea with ACP, where we are a live web series where featured artists chat with us about what's going in their lives, their art, and their social experiences. The tea topic for today is sustainability. So, we will be talking with Monica Dewey and Cynthia Steiman about the Blue Building. I want to know what inspired it, how it's come to fruition, and also, does this create a sense of sustainability or does it not create a sense of sustainability since artists right now are in a space of being a little bit unsure and not necessarily knowing what's going on in our lives. And the T again is sustainability. So I'm going to welcome in our guests, Monica and Cynthia. Let's add them to the stream. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm just going to pop your names up when I'm reading your bios. So I'm just going to give a little your bios, okay? I'm just going to let the audience know who we're dealing with the tea today because you both are fierce, okay? So first we have, and just give a little do when I say. So first we have Monica Dewey, recognized for her endearing timbre and indelible, okay, warmth and beauty. Monica Dewey is a soprano from Atlanta, Georgia. She started her career with the Opera Theater of St. Louis in 2017 as Servia in La Clemencia di Tito. Since then, she has made several notable house debuts, including the San Francisco Opera, Michigan Opera Theater, and Opera Köln, while performing additional recitals at Opera America and the Carytown Concert House. This past season, Monica joined the roster of the Metropolitan Opera, fierce, in the productions of Le Notte di Figaro and Agrippina. Monica has received top prizes from the Metropolitan Opera National Council Awards, auditions, with a national semifinalist. Say it for me, Hilda Zadek. See, I should know that, but well, I didn't today. Hilda Zadek International Voice Competition, the Sullivan Foundation, the Premier Opera Foundation, and NYIOPS International Voice Competition, Gerda Listener Foundation, the American Prize, and the Arlene Alger Memorial Scholarship. She is an alumna of the Chautauqua Voice Institute and the Michigan Opera Theater Studio. Notable roles include Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro with Opera Theater St. Louis, Gilda in Rigoletto, and the Sacramento Philharmonic, and Cunegonde in Candide with Michigan Opera Theater. Hello, Monica, and welcome.
Hello. It's so great to be here.
It's so good to have you here. So now we're going to pop over to Miss Cynthia. Hello.
Hello.
All right, let's give you a little bit of tea about Miss Cynthia. So, Cynthia is a multifaceted photographer and videographer specializing in headshots, production photos, and live music. Most recently, Cynthia was the head photographer for the Manhattan Concert Productions, photographing regularly at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center. Her photographs of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat in 2020 were featured in Vulture, Newsbreak, and Broadway.com. Just casual. In previous seasons, Cynthia has photographed for the IU Opera and Ballet Theater, Michigan Opera Theater, and Opera Theater of St. Louis. She has also been involved in archival projects with the Metropolitan Opera. She received a bachelor's degree in voice from Indiana University and continues to sing when it feels right. In addition to working behind the lens, Cynthia is in the final stages of obtaining her certificate to become an orthobionomy, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Practitioner. And orthobionomy, if you didn't know, is a gentle, non-invasive bodywork therapy that re-educates the body through self-corrective reflexes to find ease and balance. That's cool. She enjoys coffee dates and traveling with her partner, Monica. They are currently based in NYC. And I love that we have a partnership.
Yes.
This is the first time we've had a couple on the show, so I live and love that. And so I'm going to give you the definition of sustainability and kind of give you a little bit of why I chose that as the T for today. So sustainability in the context that I'm using it for our show today is relating to or being a method of harvesting or using a resource so that the resource is not depleted or permanently damaged. So what I got from thinking about the word sustainability is that, of course, let me just put that back down. So I got sustainability because something that I feel like we need right now, because being in the arts is so up in the air at the moment, obviously, we need something that feels sustainable. We need something that helps us feel grounded. For me, it's been What's the Tea, and it's been other organizations that I've been a part of in order to make sure I feel like I'm contributing when I can't contribute the way that I want to necessarily.
Yeah.
Right.
But through that, it was a blessing because I didn't realize that there were other parts of me that I hadn't gotten to unleash yet, right? So I think for you, the Blue Building seems to be something that is a part of that sustainability of being an artist, right? To have a space, to have this this thing that we can see and feel that's not just this kind of like idea, right? This head space. Right. So can you tell us, well, first of all, thanks again for being here today.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
We love it. All Compass Projects are big fans. I am a big fan.
We're big fans.
Yes.
Right back at you.
You. And so I'm wondering if you can tell us about your project, actually. I know that it's fairly new, right? Like it's just opened recently. And yeah, just give us a little rundown on what you got going on in New York City.
Yeah. Well, we did just open September 1st. And we've been thinking about this much before then. And a lot of energy and, blood, sweat, and tears went into getting this space ready. We're actually in the space right now.
Yes.
So we'll give you a little view. This is in Midtown Manhattan. We're on the east side. It's 5,600 square feet and 20-foot ceilings. Wow. It is the ideal place for recording, especially classical voice or classical music, because we've got, as you can see, we've got brick, we've got steel, we've got concrete, and we've got wood. And so it's space for the voice to vibrate, which all of us have missed so much. I know all of us have been practicing and performing in apartments that aren't meant to carry a voice. And not to mention neighbors getting mad and just not having a safe space. So that was kind of where we started.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to let Cynthia take over because she is our gearhead. Cynthia has all of the equipment and so she'll explain the setup.
Oh, I love it.
So we wanted to find the middle ground between recording in your apartment with a new setup or having to invest in new microphones, a new camera, and then to the other extreme, high-end microphones in maybe an expensive space. And so we wanted to fill in that gap. Mm-hmm. So I am a photographer. I already had a Sony A9, which is a great camera for video as well. And I also had an H6, Zoom H6 microphone. Mm-hmm. So putting those two things together and then having this space, I think we're able to, fill that void and, give people peace of mind, because you want to do what you do well. You want to, you don't want to have to be juggling new skills on top of singing or on top of playing piano. We just want to offer that to people at an affordable price and in a socially safe environment. Yeah. So that was our mission.
Yeah, we knew right away we had 3 goals, and that was socially safe, high quality, and low cost. And we've been able to hit all those marks, in large part to our friend who has donated the space. Oh. And so that's kind of our sustainability of resources. Yes. We had really generous people kind of start this project off for us. Mm-hmm. So our personal friend owns this building, And he is a huge patron of the arts. He's a subscriber at Carnegie. He's regularly at Met performances, and his wife is a classical pianist. So she donated her piano and her practice space in order for us to help out artists during this time.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, oh, I got chill bumps. Just
I love it.
so cool. Like, I mean, it's such a needed, I was saying earlier when we were backstage, it's such a needed thing, I feel like, especially for artists who are in our space that are, still like doing solo work, still, maybe some artists are still doing the young artist thing and needing somewhere to be able to go and sing what they need to do and make recordings and not be in like Opera America where there's like people knocking and you have to wait for things to be, it's just like, and then also paying for like a studio, an actual recording studio in New York City is, well.
Yeah, if I wanted to spend $10,000 on recordings, I could go out today and do that in New York City. Like, right. Of course, that option's available, but no one has gotten a paycheck in 6 months. And we are so aware of that. So we have 25 sessions booked at low cost or no cost to the artists.
Yeah, we've had some very generous donors. So we've been able to offer scholarships to people of color. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think that that's also a part of something that that is so important because, when we talk about now, the big topic is like equity, diversity, inclusivity, and access, right? And so I think that due to the systemic problems, right, that we've experienced, I think our culture hopefully has become more aware of these things. So I love that you're taking an effort to combat those systemic issues, right, and make things equitable and not just equal, but equitable. I think that's so beautiful and just really amazing.
And I think that goes back to sustainability in a lot of ways. How can we lift each other up and how can we lean on each other during this time? I think that's what sustains us.
Totally.
Exactly. Also, I'm going to pop this into the border. If anyone watching would like to help support the Blue Building and Monica and Cynthia, please support our guests via Venmo at Oral Compass Projects. If you'd like to donate another way, you can find us at info@oralcompassprojects.com to make those donations. I'm going to kind of pop this in throughout because I just really believe in what you all are doing. And I really think that this is something that could be major. So I want to be able to support in any way I can.
Yes, thank you.
So if people are interested in, getting in touch with you about the Blue Building or, anything that, they want to know rates or whatever it may be, how can they get in contact with you?
So right now we're running a really simple, humble operation. Our only advertising so far has been on social media and mostly Instagram. So we released, I think, our first Instagram post maybe in the 3rd week of August. And our first client was a flute player from the New York Philharmonic. This woman has been playing for the New York Phil for 30 years. She got in when she was 21. And I couldn't stop thinking about how she has been in an orchestra rehearsal for every week of her life since she was, 17, 18, going straight from school to then the New York Phil, and then nothing for 6 months. She comes here. She is just overjoyed to make music with someone else. We had a pianist here from the Met that played with her, and it was just like we saw our dream become a reality. If she was the only person that booked, we were happy. Over the moon. Yeah, and that we've seen that over and over. These artists just like, I have not made music with another human, and this is allowing me to do that. So if people are interested in booking, I can maybe drop my email address somewhere for people to see. And we have a Google site that we can also share that shows photos of the space and our rates as well.
Awesome. I love that. So you can Google, because Listen, I was Googling y'all last night, okay? And so if you Google the blue building, it is the first one that pops up, honey. She pops up at the top. Y'all have a little about and everything. Y'all already have some reviews.
Oh my God.
Good. Yeah.
Good reviews. Y'all are 5-star, honey. Okay. So please, if you can, I encourage our viewers, if you're in New York City and you need a space, you feel like I feel like it's also not even just about having the space to record, right? Or make videos, or it's about feeling like another sense of community almost.
It's 100% that. It is as much the social connection with artists as it is leaving with a really high quality product.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Makes me so happy.
Thank you. It's like we feel like we're hosting people in our own living room. Yesterday we had an artist here and he was like, "Do you guys have any snacks maybe?" And we were like, "Of course." We had like a cheese board and nuts, and like one artist, she blew us away. She was here in the evening recording. And so afterwards we were like, do you guys want some Cosmos? And so we made Cosmos and like chatted, socially distanced, but it was a chance for us all to just kind of be like, we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm.
Yeah.
So let's weather the storm together, no matter what boat you're in. And we want to be there to help you.
That was deep. We're not in the same boat, but we're in the same storm. Did you just come up with that?
I heard somebody said it yesterday. They were in the space, or there was an audio engineer in the space. Somebody wanted to book somebody their person that they trusted and knew really well, which is also possible. If you just want to rent the space, we have rental rates, we have day rates. So we had this awesome audio engineer in the space who has recorded over 12,000 performances for Manhattan School of Music.
Oh my God.
And that's what he said. He was just saying his wife is in the Metropolitan Opera Chorus. And he's an audio engineer, and they just said, we moved to Manhattan with a stable income, and that's gone. Yeah. And it's a storm.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I probably know him.
You probably did. Well, that's the tea.
So we're gonna do a little pivot because I want to. As you know, if people have been watching What's the Tea, I like to ask our guests to ask questions because I think that sometimes we can get the best answers and solutions through asking just simple questions, right? Now I will say these are not necessarily simple questions. They're very not in a weird or negative way, but they're really beautiful questions that I think we as artists have to ask ourselves. And I think that a lot of artists don't ask those kind of questions. So from there, I'm going to start with, let's see, where should we start? I think I'm going to start with, how do we build resilience as artists? This is a question from Monica. And it's a great question because I think it totally goes also with what we're talking about with sustainability and how, through this kind of shitstorm, for lack of better words, we build up these resilient, we build up resiliency.
Totally.
And as artists, we also naturally build that up, I think, especially as singing, performing artists, where a lot of our career is picked and choosed over by other people and not ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so, I'll ask you first to whichever person wants to go first. How do we build resilience as artists?
Yeah, I can go for it. Well, I like that we use the term resilience because it doesn't mean putting up armor. Like as artists, we still have to be open and, sensitive. Mm-hmm. And so I think resilience is a great word,
right,
in that way. I think it is baby steps. like allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel. And then knowing that once you move through that, you gained something from that experience.
Yes.
You gained some kind of perspective, and that you can carry that through to the next thing that you face. And that resilience just keeps deepening the more you face external obstacles and internal obstacles. And the more like you tease through what is serving you and what is no longer serving you, and being able to release what no longer is serving you. Yeah.
Totally.
Anything to add?
Well, to me, resilience, it's a stressful experience plus recovering. And we all know our stereotype as Americans is build up the stress. Stress equals success. Stress equals you're busy, with no emphasis on the recovery. And we seem to think that sitting at home in bed watching Netflix is a recovery. It's not. It's a distraction.
I think it can be.
Okay, maybe with like
intentionally.
Intentionally
Yeah.
saying, okay, I'm going to lay in bed and watch this show that I love dearly. Okay, I get that. But if you're sitting in bed, not even paying attention to the show, like.
And your mind is like
exactly
still on the thing.
Exactly. So finding ways that help you recover. Of course, like it's been proven that meditation is something that will help you with recovering from stress, or nature, getting out, exercise, eating well. All these things have to be a part of your recovery plan, or else your threshold for the stress is just going to build. And that's when burnout happens.
Yeah.
I've been there.
I've been there.
Yeah. So really, as artists, it's even more important to be like, I'm turning off my social media. I'm putting this away, and I'm going to focus on me. The artistic journey is an inward one, and social media is so external and pushing information out there that sometimes we need a break.
That's so true. I needed to hear those words today because, I've been quite stressed out. And it's funny that you mentioned like Netflix as a like possible coping mechanism, right?
Distraction.
Or distraction.
Yeah.
So for me, like I look forward to being able to like watch my show at the end of the day, because for me, it like relieves the like 1,000 things that are firing in my brain and just lets me watch something dumb that I don't have to think.
Totally.
Because I'm thinking constantly. My brain is like, and so for me, like that is helpful, but I could see how for certain people it would not be helpful. It could become a really bad habit that can lead to more distraction instead of actually recovering.
Exactly.
Right.
I totally see that. I did Google resilience because I love a Google search. I love a definition.
I love dictionary.
So resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness, the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape or elasticity. So I definitely feel like building resilience as an artist, it's one of those things that I feel like it's very tough to explain how to do. Like if you're talking to someone, you're like, you need to be resilient. You need to be resilient. But it's so hard because everyone's form of resilience is different, right? It's the capacity to come back from difficulties, whether that be physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. There's so many spaces, right? And so I think building resilience as an artist may come from the ability to, I think it actually comes from figuring out first what you're worth. You have to find your own worth, I think, and self-reflection and self-love to build up resilience from all of the difficulties that come from it. Because being an artist is tough.
Yeah.
And something that I think that a lot of people don't realize is that we get devalued a lot for our career, for the amount of time, energy, work that we put into it. A lot of times we don't get as much return as maybe other people would in different careers, or as much notoriety as other people would in, other careers. Our jobs are not, what is the word? They're not required, or what is it called? It's
essential.
Essential, right? Our jobs are not essential. However, they are, because I think that being an artist, you are helping someone else build their own resilience, right? Like you're helping another person come back from the difficulties that they may have been feeling that day. So when you go to see a live performance, you are being a part of that person's resilience, that person's, part of rebuilding themselves. This is a fabulous question.
I love that.
I do too. It's cyclical in that way.
Yeah, and knowing your worth, like you need to know what is your baseline, and know when I'm not there. My voice in my head is negative. I'm tired. Get back to your baseline. Say no maybe to that Zoom happy hour, because if you take that hour to relax, you'll be ready to jump on the next call the next day, and you'll be more yourself, more at your baseline.
Exactly. I've definitely done that this week.
Listen, you are doing so many things. I was saying to Elliott, first of all, I just want to say, Elliott and I met, 2016?
2016, yeah.
At Opera Theater of St. Louis. And Elliott was the kind of person that would sit outside rehearsal. He would always arrive early, prepared, and he would compliment every single person. Just like, yes, you're looking great today. Oh my God, you sounded amazing yesterday. You just build people up. And seeing you in all these leadership roles, it's like, duh. Like, it's all aligned because you're always building people up. And that's how good leaders work.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. That's so sweet.
Save it for the stage.
Oh my gosh. Whew. Okay. Know your worth.
Yes.
So, okay. So
and surround yourself by people who remind you of that worth.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. That's so important. That's so important because you need it. I mean, to be quite honest.
Totally.
So something that I think is interesting is this question: how do you shift? This is from Cynthia. How do you shift from a career that is no longer serving you? I find that I talked last week about how I was at a point where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And what does that look like? Like, how do you, actually, let me switch there we go. So like, I feel like this question is also like, how do you know when it's time to shift? And also, how do you make that shift, right? Like, I think that me being a soloist, I always thought that was the one thing. And there's so many other facets to me that I feel like are so important that I should give to the world. And so I feel like you have to realize that you can be a multifaceted diamond, right? You're not just a flat surfed piece of glass.
Yeah.
You have different facets to you. And I don't know how. I know that Cynthia, you did maybe like a little shift, right?
On shifting. A shape shifter. I think it's different for everyone. The process in figuring out, like, again, is this serving me? It's going to translate differently to each person, I think. So for me, it was very quick. Like, I was singing and a couple of things happened. And then one night I was like, I need to take a step back from this and start shifting to something else. And at the time I was already photographing as well. So it made sense. Okay, that's the next thing I want to like pursue for now. But now I'm kind of going through another shift. on kind of multiple levels, which is interesting. Again, the multidimensional, multifaceted way that things are. But shifting from photography to videography, it's, I think I was able to do it quickly because I had already kind of, again, started exploring that world. And so I just kept teaching myself and continue to teach or learn and pick up things from other people. But then also on like a broader level, I'm starting to switch to more to a body work realm. And I think long term, that's really what I want to do. So in my experience, it's a lot of juggling. Like the shifting takes time and takes energy spent in different places and like making decisions and saying no to things. Monica and I a lot of times talk about low-hanging fruit, we call it. Things that you could do that you'd be good at, or a project that is maybe interesting to you, but will it be serving you on that long-term goal or into shifting to that new realm? So yeah, it's a lot of checking in with yourself, I think.
Listen, y'all better speak to my spirit today. I am loving it. Well, also, there's a later question where I wanted to talk to you about some of the body work that you're doing, because I think that's also a very cool space. So we're gonna chat a little bit about that.
That's great.
Later. But yeah, what about if you, so Monica, I don't know if you have any experience with this or not, but do you feel like you have any advice for that kind of a shift?
I do. I was right with you when this pandemic hit, and I thought, okay, well, if I get into a low-paying job now, I can work my way up, but I need to get that 1 year at the like low tier at a tech company. Like I was in distress and I was ready to flee, and I know that's my pattern. But I started to realize that, okay, professional goals are one thing, but we also have emotional goals. We have spiritual goals. We have physical goals of maybe wanting, a house and a clean room and, all of these other things that do not need to be on halt. So when the pandemic hit and I was having these really, major, unlike me thoughts, I started focusing on my well-being. I started doing a lot of yoga, started meditating a lot, started eating better. There is never really, I don't think there's ever a time in your life where it is 100% zero progress. Like you will always be able to make progress in some way. So yeah, professional goals are on hold. We all lost a lot of contracts, but that doesn't mean everything's on hold. You are more than that one sliver professional person.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I feel like with that, I don't want to say I shifted from a career that's no longer serving me, but at the time, our career is not serving us.
Exactly.
Right? So how do I feel like in the scope of the question, on first glance, it seems like, how do you shift in a career where you feel like you don't want to be in that career anymore? But it's more like, if you can't do what you want to do, then how do you shift into something that you may also be good at? Right. And so for me, I found that hosting has been great. I found that being in, positions where I'm trying to affect change has been great for me, where I always felt that passion, but I never knew how to actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for me, it was about shifting I've realized about myself that I'm a person who I like to be doing things. Like I think it's a rare occasion where I spend more than like 2 days not doing something.
Yeah.
Right. Like just vegging out. Like, I don't think I've done that since high school.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I need that just because of like what I've been through in my career and like just in life. Like I feel like I need that constant movement, that constant change, or else I get like kind of like, I call it like sick. Like I get just physically, like I start to feel kind of off. Mentally, I feel off. I just feel like I need to keep moving. And so for me, that shift came fairly naturally because I was like, okay, these organizations are starting. Let me see what they're about. Let me get involved. Let me, okay, well, we have What's the Tea happening. Let's host it. Like, let's do some things. And thankfully, like Michael Lewis, who's the founder of All Compass Projects, we've been working together since we did a concert earlier in the year, and he's a good friend of mine as well. And thankfully, during that concert, I said at the end of it, I said, I know your business is just starting, but if you ever need like any kind of social, whatever, like just let me know. And from that one interaction of like, I don't know if it was just forward thinking, but from that, it's opened these kind of doors for me to be doing things like this that I also love to do and that I didn't know I had a passion for. And so I think it's shifting I don't even know if it's shifting your mindset. I think it's actually shifting your maybe priorities.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of like turning up the volume on skills that you maybe weren't using as much before. And you can kind of like tune it, you can bring down the volume on some skills and bring it up on others. And it can always be changing day to day,
Yeah, that's so true. Your life, you can use it as a soundboard. You can turn up the volume on some parts and turn down the bass on others.
I love that.
Is that a
song? So from this question, I thought it was only natural to go to this one here. How do you juggle multiple different projects as a freelance artist? That is a difficult question, but I would love to speak on it if that's okay. I'll go first this time. Yes. So for me, it's actually been very hard to figure that out because typically our jobs are audition during like audition season or just like in a time to audition, and then you're under contract, and that's what the focus is, right? Like that's what it is. It's about the production. It's about what you're trying to do. It's about learning the music for that. And now I have so many different freelance projects happening. It's like I am now a calendar person. I always tried. I would always have a planner, and I would do it for like 2 months. And then it was like, honey, planner's empty for 6 months. Nothing in it. It's like, what was the purpose? Just blank pages. But I've discovered that for me, it actually is very helpful to be planned and organized. And recently, I've been using my phone to do all of my planning, which I before was like, oh, that's such like a, it's like, I don't want to be connected to the technology. But then I'm like, but it makes things for me so much easier because I can go, on different, if I need to go through a Gmail and look at blah, 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 and everything is linked together. So I think that's actually why the regular planner wasn't working for me. So I think for me, like being able to be more accessible is a space to help juggle multiple different projects. Also, I love now getting back to what you forget things sometimes. You forget your own things that help you through processes until you like have to do it. And so lately I've been making lists, just like easy checklists for things to get done. And I feel it's almost like a rush when I cross things off that list. I mean, it's just it makes me feel positive and energized and like excited. And I think maybe that's not for everyone, but for me, I realize that it is super, super helpful and it keeps me focused because I just realized lately that, someone a long time ago was like, so you focus on different things, like all like you have one project here and one project there, and then you kind of like bounce between them. And they were like, do you think you have like maybe like ADHD or something like that, like a focus thing? I said, well, no, honey, because I'm not bouncing around, and like I don't feel like I have the typical. But then I realized like one thing I do is that I have attention, like a attention deficit kind of thing, that I like to focus on one project, but then I like to go over here and then go back to that project. Because for me, it's harder to just stay on that one path. And when I have the list, I can just stick to that one thing because I'm focused on the list. And then I'm just like, "Broop." So for me, listing, calendars, things like that are actually super helpful. I mean, that's in the like literal sense of juggling multiple projects.
Right.
But I also try to find a thread. This is on the like internal level. I like to find a thread of a similar idea throughout all of the projects that I'm working on. And that helps me stay focused and helps me kind of like become more intersectional with the projects, because everything that I'm working on, they all deal with a space of like amplifying voices, social justice, music, and really just like affecting change.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to find, for me, I think you have to find the thread, find the thing that threads all those quilt pieces together.
I love that.
But yeah, what about you all?
I think that thread is also going towards like the long-term goal. So yeah, Elliott, like you are a great speaker and you're a great host and community builder. But going back to that like low-hanging fruit thing, if the local coffee shop in Virginia was like, you would make a great barista, come on in, you'd maybe think that's low-hanging fruit. Like that's not my long-term goal. So yeah, we try to know when to say no to a project. And, if it's not serving that thread, it's maybe not the right time. Or if
I'm working on.
right project.
I'm working on that too.
Totally. And yeah, I like you, my life was audition, contract. And so I wasn't juggling a lot of different things. And now I'm the administrator for the space. So I'm sending confirmations, I'm publicizing the space, I'm cleaning for COVID, I'm like hosting artists and making tea and bringing out snacks. But I love it because again, it's that sense of community and amplifying voices that have been silent. So yeah, thank you for that. It's been a great time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I love that idea of threading the needle between all your different projects.
Yeah.
Sometimes for me, it feels like they're kind of all over the place. And so I think that might help me in finding ways to connect them and maybe, I don't know, let one thing inspire another thing, even if it's like one thing's a bodywork thing and one thing's, I don't know, recording a singer. Like, I think I love that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also love lists. I'm all about lists. And another thing that helps me is putting on a timer on my phone.
Yes.
And I know that I start to fatigue around like 45 minutes to an hour, whether it's like staring at a screen for too long or like looking at my calendar for too long. I start to go elsewhere.
Zone out.
Yeah, and then I'm not as efficient or effective. So yeah, I will set timers for myself and then give myself breaks for sure, and definitely eat. Remember to eat. Fuel is very important. But yeah, it's again different every day. As a freelancer, like your schedule is constantly changing, and you may be working like really late one night, and then you have to make up your sleep in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, just staying open to change and embracing the change. Like I love that I don't have to sit at a desk from 9 to 5 every day.
Amen.
You know, I love that I can go out grocery shopping at 2 in the afternoon with Monica.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So, well, you were talking about flexibility. Now watch this transition. Now, I see that you're doing some self-corrective reflexes to find ease and balance using those flexibilities. So with orthobionomy, can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I saw it on your bio, and I was like, huh, this seems like something I feel like would be very helpful for a lot of people who are watching us. So can you give a little bit about info about that? Just like a little,
Sure. Yeah. So it was created in the 1970s by an osteopath. And he realized that there were these self-corrective reflexes that can help us find more mobility or relax. And he realized that from a place of ease and comfort, the body tends to relax even more. And so he played around with these ideas and came up with a method. It can be used in a lot of different scopes. For me, if you were to sign up for a session with me, you would come to my studio, and I have a massage table. You stay fully clothed throughout the session, and then we work together. It's a listening modality, so really the client is guiding the session, and I'm just supporting you through it. But finding the optimal position for release. So, if it's a shoulder, maybe that we're working with, where does the shoulder like to be? Like, does it like to be up towards the ears? Maybe that's where it goes throughout the day as our armor to get through this time, And so then we hold that position and just allow the body to do what it needs to do. And usually there's some kind of melting, shifting, release that happens. And it's just this really lovely way of healing, I think. That it's very, it meets people where they're at. And I think that's really important. It's not prescribed. And it's not meant to diagnose, but it's just meant to support.
I love that.
Wow. Yeah. And then also there's, say that again?
I said, I'm going to look into it.
Yeah. There are orthobionomy practitioners all over the US and all over the world. I don't know exactly why it's not a household name yet. We're working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also a great self-care plan, I think. You can be thinking about how can I position my body for optimal relaxation, and how it's like a body scan, but a very productive body scan, I think.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, productivity is another T that we like over here. So
yeah.
Also flexibility.
Flexibility. So you're giving me all these T's that I can use later on.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
So yes, I get to be Cynthia's number one client, and it's wonderful. I kind of describe it to people that don't know about it as maybe acupuncture without the needles, because it's also opening these energetic pathways that might be blocked. And for artists, that can be blocked creativity. So creativity. Yeah. So I almost have time with Cynthia every day for orthobionomy, and it is so nice to do before or after a practice session, because it just allows everything to function at its optimal level. You don't need to help. your body knows what to do. This and this, like the mind and the heart and the body, when they're in alignment, you know.
Yeah, and it's reminding the body that it knows how to correct itself and heal itself, really.
Wow. I mean, I know I can tell from recently I had a incident where I was in New York, and it was like maybe like 3 weeks before pandemic things happened. And I could tell that something was blocking me. Something felt like I was feeling like sick, and I was feeling just like uncomfortable. And I had to like check in with myself and like get up and like do just some like movements, just like movements that I came up with, and just like force myself to like push that energy through. And it was like I was like breathing in a certain kind of way, and like it was such an emotional release. And afterward, I felt so much. I didn't feel sick anymore. Like I didn't feel physically sick, because there was an emotional space that I had to get through that I wasn't dealing with, and I didn't know what. I still don't know what that was, but it was there. And I knew there was something there. And I feel like this practice kind of takes some of that into account physically, right? And like uses that to unleash and unlock some of those channels that may be kind of like,
yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I'm going to look into it.
Awesome. Yeah, let me know. I can send you some info.
Please do. And we will build our community.
Yes.
Community.
So this is a beautiful question as well. How do we build our community, mentors, and team? I think, well, it's something that I have to deal with now a lot in thinking, because of my new director of community engagement with River City Opera. I have to speak it again, because sometimes I not forget, but don't think about these things, right? Yeah. And so this is a great question that when I read it, I was like, wow, I need to constantly ask myself this question, because I feel like ever changing, because your team is going to change sometimes, like depending on where your levels, and depending on the energy that you're receiving. Your mentors' relationships will change. You hope that they don't, but over time they do, because you're both shifting and changing as individuals. And of course, our community shifts constantly, whether that be the community that's within your own household, or the outside community, the national community, the community of the world, or in the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to even think that large about the shifting community, right? Like the planets are always shifting, our cosmos are always shifting. That has to have a reflection on us as little teeny human beings in the universe. So how do you think you build your community, mentors, and team, whether it be within the Blue Building or within your own personal space?
I will start. I always remembered this. I went to Indiana University for my master's, and at the orientation, the dean came and spoke to us, and something he said stuck with me. He said, never underestimate the power of an email not asking for anything. Just sending somebody an email and saying what you are doing means something to me, and thank you. Not saying, anything else, not expecting anything of them. And they may not reply, but when they do reply, that's a connection.
Wow.
And I have thought about that a lot. And, when we were starting the Blue Building, I contacted the associate producer of the Met Live in HD. And he also is doing all the Met recitals right now. And I asked him to come and see the space, and I offered to pay him for his time because, I don't want people to think that I'm taking advantage of them ever. Totally. And that was one, I was asking for something in that case. But he has been one of our greatest advocates, and he's bringing in people to the space all the time. But one, I established a relationship with him before writing that email. I knew him personally. And
Right.
then 2, I offered to pay him for his time as a consulting fee because I understand everyone's trying to just make it through right now.
Right.
And I've reaped the rewards of that in that he's expanded our network. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there are people certainly in your network, people that you know that are expanders. And if you have those people on your team, like they will help. And yeah, that started where I didn't think it would end up, but that's where it ended up.
But it's like planting the seeds.
Yeah.
I talk about planting the seeds a lot, like taking the time to just, plant that one seed and see what happens. It's going to take time for it to grow. And you may not even see the fruits of you planting that tree, but someone will. And so that I feel like goes along with like, that's part of how we build our community. You have to plant those little teeny tiny seeds to grow into something huge,
And following up, like I've had a lot of people reach out to me about grad programs or young artists or what's it like to be an opera singer.
I have people reach out about like equipment.
Yeah. And then the first thing I do is I say, hey, let's set up a time to chat on the phone. 9 times out of 10, they never respond. Because they wanted that immediate gratification of like, I want my answer now. And I said, I want to build a relationship.
Right. Which is so much more valuable.
Right.
For someone to say, I would love to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
Let's have time to talk about it. And for that not to be reciprocated is kind of like worse.
And, also just saying, sometimes it's not helpful to have your opinions in writing. So having a vocal conversation, I feel more comfortable disclosing stuff.
Totally.
Yeah,
That's listen. Yep. That's true.
Yeah. And that's, again, going back to sustainability. Like, if you're planting those seeds and making those connections, who knows the long term of what that relationship will be, you know?
Totally. Wow. So along those lines, we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about our kind of work building our connections and our own path. This question is really beautiful. This is our last question, but I love this question. What steps can we take as individuals and as a collective to sustainably move forward into a more inclusive and understanding world? So again, I'm going to read the definition of sustainability again. It's relating to or being a method of harvesting or using a resource so that the resource is not depleted or permanently damaged. That totally goes into the space of inclusivity and understanding, because how can we keep that sustainable? How can we not deplete everyone's, I guess, thought of, okay, right now I have to be EDI, right now I have to be, it's all about that, right? That's like the trend. How can we keep that sustainable without depleting the space of this being just a trend too, I think is an interesting place to go with it. But yeah, can you tell me more about this question? Because it's a really great question.
I actually modeled it off of a friend's question. I spoke on an orthobionomy panel, and this was one of her questions, but on a more orthobionomy scale. So I cannot take full credit for this question. But I thought it was a nice way to kind of sum everything up and hopefully talk about hope, really. Because I think that's what it goes back to in a lot of ways. I had a thought, but now I've lost it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I love this Instagram team handle called Nap Ministry. They're out of Atlanta. Yes. And they pretty much post about napping and the importance of rest and I think, restoring, and how that space can help you then go back out into the world and be your brightest self. And so I think that's a really important way to pace yourself. And then to, again, as a collective, to pace ourselves. Like, everything will happen in right timing if we let it. But I think we are kind of told that we should get a quick turnaround, like that we should be working as hard as we can. And yes, Snap Ministry. So good. And that we should be, in the daily grind and making a lot of money and always trying to progress to the next thing, which I think, yes, on a long-term scale, we want that to happen. But we don't talk about the in-between, like the time it takes and the energy it takes, and how we can pace ourselves and stay open to what lies in that in between, like it could be connecting with someone that you wouldn't normally connect with because you're hanging out at a coffee shop and like reading, I don't know.
No, but yeah, so it's like being open and being like letting yourself be open to those things happening, right?
Yeah.
And then using that as a way to create momentum, like forward momentum, without it being just about that getting to that goal. But also like letting yourself be open to the journey, I think is super important. And I feel like that kind of goes along with what you were saying a little bit. And I think with this question, when it talks about like as a collective, right? I feel like in order to sometimes make a space that is able to work as a collective, it has to be about your individual work first before you try to go in and say like we ... It has to be me, I ... and then we ... Now there are some spaces where it has to be we first and then it becomes I, because I think in some instances it has to be, okay, for instance, a train has fallen over. We all need to pick up this train. And then you worry about yourself and individual after, right? So a circumstance that's like, boom, right there, everybody has to join together and make this change happen. But for some things that are maybe like longer, like systemic issues, like things that are not immediate action, where people want to take immediate action, you have to work on yourself first in order to educate more people so that it can become a collective of change. So I think that it really just depends on what it is that you're working on or working with. And, the steps that you take, I feel like the first thing, if it's a sustainable process where you're trying to make a place more inclusive and understanding, is to learn about yourself first, to actively try to be the best person that you can be and the person that you would want to call your friend, right? Like you should be able to call yourself your friend.
Yeah.
And then you become a nudge for others to live in that same way.
Exactly.
Negativity always works. And finding the way around that and finding the hope and living that, that's harder. But when you meet somebody that's like that, it does shift. It's kind of like, oh, that person has a different perspective that's a little bit more hopeful and aligned. Maybe I'll subscribe more to that and less to the constant, negativity and the state. Of course, the state of our country is not great, but as individuals, we can always improve. There's always room for progress.
Exactly. And as we do that, we can improve as a collective.
Yeah, it extends beyond
Yes,
us.
totally.
Yeah.
It extends beyond us. I love that. It extends beyond us. Ooh, that's kind of great. But yeah, so we're kind of gonna start wrapping up. Let me take this little question off. I just want again you to just give a little shout out to your amazing project. Well, I want to give a shout out first. I believe that this is something that will be you're planting the seed right now for something that's even bigger and better, even farther than you even know is there right now. I truly believe that. And especially with you two on the team, I mean, your energy and spirit is something that I've always loved and admired, and just it always brightens me up. So
right back at you. Seriously.
So I know in my heart of hearts that you're planting the seeds to grow something really truly amazing, and yeah, I want to hear a little bit more from you. Just give us another little update, end of show update.
Sure.
About the Blue Building, how people can get in contact with you, where it's located in the city, and all that jazz.
Yeah. So we have a few more bookings left. I know there's some major deadlines coming up for young artists, and we want to help you. We want you to have the best video to represent yourself at this time. So get in touch with us. You can find me on Instagram at Schmans, and I can get you booked in the space. And we are located in East Midtown, very close to Grand Central Station. And yeah, all you have to do is bring your pianist and look fabulous. We take care of everything else.
I love that. Bring your pianist and look fabulous, honey. Listen.
Yes.
Y'all have me wanting to make a trip to New York, okay?
Come on.
Y'all have me wanting to make a little boop boop, a little drive. But I do know that the next time I'm in the city, I will be there, honey.
Please do.
I'd love to show you
love
the
it.
space.
Yeah.
I love it, and
Yes.
yes, I really am so happy and thankful that you were able to come on today and exude your positive and thoughtful energy, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elliott. Thank you for everything you're doing.
It's inspiring.
Thank you. Also, should have told you this backstage, but well, y'all getting a little bit of the tea. Just hang out for me backstage, and I'm gonna end our show and pop back on and talk with you in a sec. Okay. All right. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Dewey, Cynthia Steiman, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Mwah. Okay. Chat soon. All right. Thank you so much for joining us with What's the Tea with ACP. Our next episode is very special. It's going to be our 10th episode. Crazy to think about. And it's going to be with members of Wear Yellow Proudly, which is an organization that that is in partnership with Oral Compass Project. They are a very cool, interesting organization. They are advocating for change in the industry when it comes to Asian representation in the operatics field and the artistic realm. So please join us. That's going to be on October 11th. So please come back and see us. Please, if you can, donate to at Oral Compass at Oral Compass in order to help our guests that were on today. And if you can, go back and watch the episode. If you're just tuning in now, go back and take a little gander at our episode on sustainability. We thank you, we love you, and thanks for joining us for What's the Tea with ACP. Bye-bye.